this day in gaming.
Evil made its home on the Nintendo 64. It's Halloween, ladies and germs, so what better day to revisit one of the most seminal residents in a franchise still going strong today. Originally released for the PlayStation, Resident Evil 2 suffered a serious setback when design issues left Capcom with the unfortunate ultimatum of reworking the entire game. The result was a title that founded the fundamental draft for the series. Like the original, RE2 was one of the first truly cinematic games, not just in its narrative, but in its aesthetic translation of the horror film. The T-virus-infected town of Raccoon has been incapacitated, its residents relenting their reason and starving for cerebral chow. It was a vintage zombie plot, but the way it played out the tension of a zombie movie, now that's where RE2 became something else. Just like in a classic zombie flick, you'd find yourself surrounded by brain-eating carcasses that strangely were more terrifying given the fact that they were so slow. Run away, you idiot! Run away! How could those morons in the movies allow themselves to be caged in by these lumbering corpses? It's one of the most frustrating conventions of the genre, and that same feeling was a key part of making Resident Evil 2, like its predecessor, one hell of a Halloween haunt. The main reason why it managed to convert that passive fear of the film into an interactive one in the game is that it inconvenienced the player with its awkward camera angles, shooting mechanics, and clumsy inventory system. Repeatedly harassed, these elements would define the series until Capcom revamped the core of Resident Evil in its fourth rendition, arguably its most critically acclaimed, before ultimately steering the franchise into a more action-driven plot, with each haunted house escalating into city, region, country, and the world. The N64 port of RE2 is generally considered the most superior of its ports, with audio that one-upped that on the PlayStation, and minor additional features like being able to change the color of blood and violence. This was Nintendo after all, but hey, at least they didn't remove the blood entirely. Whether or not you're a fan of where Capcom has taken the series, that's not the point here. The point is that RE2 set the benchmark for the horror game, and in many ways, foreshadowed the cinematic storytelling that was emerging. Before Resident Evil, there had always been those games that had tried to scare, but those scares were infrequent, crude graphics failing to send a chill down our spines. Alone in the Dark would mark the first real step towards haunting our homes, and today, the horror game is more horrifying than ever.
Resident Evil 2.
Released on the N64, October 31st, 1999. Trick or treat, classic gamers, and have a happy Halloween on this day in gaming.